What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Greetings and salutations. Jeffrey Wilson right here riding shotgun with my partner in crime, UFC Hall of Famer, destroyer of worlds, slayer of dragons, Pat Miletich. And today, man, we have an awesome guest, former light heavyweight champion Tito Ortiz, that goes right in the vein of everything combat. We're going to talk about his life, his career. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't missed some of the archived episodes, we have had on Ben Askren, former heavyweight champion George Foreman, Bruce Buffer, Dan Gable, Eric Bischoff. And today, like I said, no shortage of stories from this man talking about his tough life, because everything in everything in life is a fight. That's what we're talking about. But we're going to be back in 2 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, with Tito Ortiz, but we got to pay a couple bills real quick. See you in just about 2 minutes. What is cracking? Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. Jeffrey Wilson riding shotgun with Pat Miletich, the champion amongst champions. What's up, brother?
I tell you what's up. It's very cold. The Arctic blast is taking hold of the Quad Cities, the upper Midwest. It's going to be, 26 below zero tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., 55 below with wind chill factor. We better warm things up right now.
What'd they say? If you're outside for 4 seconds? What is it?
4 minutes. Bud. 4 minutes.
That's rough, man. 4 minutes goes fast. So, ladies and gentlemen, definitely bundle up.
David Goggins, the former SEAL, would be out there running in a T-shirt and shorts.
Well, that's what your silly self said when we came into the station. You're going to go out and try to run tomorrow. I'm like, dude, I know,
I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do it.
Okay, well, remember Pat's famous last words, ladies and gentlemen. But, we're going to get Tito on the horn. Tito Ortiz, former UFC light heavyweight champion. Man, it's awesome doing show prep, man, because, I've been following Tito forever, as you've known Tito forever, but very, very interesting story. Let's wait till we get the Huntington Beach Bad Boy on the phone.
Hello.
Tito, what's up, my man?
How you doing, my man? Doing good.
I am good, man. Thank you so very much for the time. You are on the horn with myself and UFC Hall of Famer Pat Miletich.
How you doing, Tito?
Great, Pat. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. So are you still out in California?
Yeah, Huntington Beach.
You just won't leave there, will you? It's like me in Bettendorf, Iowa, buddy.
Oh, man, I live in the harbor. I got a fence behind my house. I ain't going anywhere. My whole life I've wanted to get to this area. And the home I'm in a council. King's living great. I'm happy.
I get it.
I saw you on some show prep doing some, some leopard shark fishing, like some awesome fishing off on your boat there.
Yeah, it's actually just right in the harbor, right here in the harbor where I live. They don't bite people, they don't attack people or anything like that. They're bottom feeders, but they're, exciting to catch. They get anywhere from a foot to 6 feet. So
nice.
Yeah, that'd be fun reeling in a 6-footer.
Yeah, they're pretty nice. They're really cool looking too.
Are they edible?
Yes, they are edible.
Okay, good.
But we don't eat them. We just leave them back in there.
Yeah, sport fishing at its best. Catch and release.
Exactly. I go out and catch the tuna to have the edible fish.
There you go.
Well, just remember as we have this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, we are on ESPN 93.5 terrestrial radio, so please, let's keep our profanity to an absolute non-existent. But we can still have an interesting conversation without swearing, right?
Yeah.
Well, looking back, man, this show is all about, everything combat. It's not so much about physical combat, even though a lot of the guests we've had on, George Foreman, et cetera, can speak to physical combat. It's more of a metaphorical combat, man, of overcoming different adversities in life. And, your life is absolutely no exception, sir. I've been following your career for a very long time, but kind of getting into the nooks and crannies, man, you've been through a lot, man. You definitely came through a lot to become the champion that you are. If you don't mind, kind of go back a little bit to your childhood, man, because that's kind of where it started for you. And I talk about it a lot, man. A lot of people who've excelled champions in life, there's usually something that's pushing them. Either they're running from a demon, toward a demon, trying to, get a monkey off their back, trying to prove something to somebody, if you will. And, again, your life is no exception, man. If you don't mind, take us back in time and what started Tito Ortiz on the path of championshipness.
I think it was just the hustle in general. At the age of 6, life was normal for me. I think it was great. My father was a part owner in a business. My mother's a stay-at-home mom. Life was normal. I had 3 older brothers, kick my butt every day. And then about ages 6 to 7, my mother and father fell into drugs. They fell into heroin. My father went to the hospital to get a hernia removed, and they put him on morphine. When he got out of the hospital, he was addicted to morphine for a little bit, and then his brother turned him on to heroin, and life went down from that point out on, all the way up to about 13 years old. And in between there, I would take the bus from Santa Ana down to Newport Beach and go fish off the pier, and I loved fishing. It was just something I loved to do. And at 11, my father in his business actually went on a fishing trip on a boat. Mm-hmm. I was naming all the fish, and one of the deckhands on the boat, he's like, "How do you know so much about fishing?" This really interests me. I love fishing. He goes, "You come back next week on the weekend, and you come out fishing for free. You screw up the boat on the way in." I was hooked, line, sinker. I was sold. And I continued doing it. I mean, there's opportunities where it was just I would ditch school just to go do that because I didn't really like school. My parents didn't care about me going to school. I mean, I lived in a motel. I just wanted to get away from downtown Santa Ana, or from Santa Ana. It was just kind of a lower poverty area. I was just going through a lot of stuff with my parents. My older brothers lived in Huntington Beach with their guardian, and I stayed with my parents with their drug addiction. I'd seen many things, and I grew up quick. You know, I remember selling fish on the pier. It was just the hustle of it. Working at the Dory fleet at a young age, baiting lines, working on the boats at a young age, scrubbing boats down, filleting fish. I mean, I did that all the way up to about, 18. And throughout that time, I found into wrestling. When I was 13, my mother left my father. We moved back to Huntington Beach from Santa Ana, and I found wrestling. Or wrestling found me. And of course,
how it worked out.
Yeah, all my true fans, they know my true name is Jacob. And in the Bible, Jacob wrestled against an angel, and the angel saved his life. So I think wrestling is something that saved my life. I turned my wrestling career from high school of only 4 years to going to junior college, win the state title 2 years in a row, to go into Division I, and going for my degree of physical education with a minor in special education teaching because I wanted to help with kids. But I was a training partner of Tank Abbott at that time. I was his wrestling partner. We never sparred or anything. It was just mostly just wrestling, jiu-jitsu. And I learned really, really quick. And I was taking him down at will. And I saw a guy, Jerry Bolander, who fought in the UFC, I think UFC 11, and won the tournament. And I was like, Jerry Bolander from Lockford, California. I go, that looks so damn familiar. I looked back at my wrestling stuff, and I wrestled him. I dominated him. I was like, wow, let me give this a try. I told Tank, and Tank kind of laughed, and he was like, oh, you want to fight the UFC? I'm like, I want to try. I wrestled 190, down from 212 to 190. I mean, this actually will help a little bit to get down to 199. It won't be as bad as a cut. And I got my first try May 30th, 1997, as an alternate for free. I actually wanted to keep my scholarship for wrestling because I wanted to continue to get my degree, and I did it just for the love of it.
UFC 13, Augusta, Georgia. You beat West, I think, is Albert Britton in about 30 seconds.
Correct. Yeah, 22 seconds. And let me tell you, talking about fear and not sure what's going to happen, and just your emotions take over, and just the training is repetition is what took over in the fight. And that's the stuff we did. And it was just, I finished the fight quick, and I found myself in the finals against Guy Metzger, and I was pounding him out, had my inside cradle, and this move was a move that I worked with my coach, Paul Herrera, so much with, and he could never get away. And all of a sudden, the referee stopped for bleeding. First time back then, UFC 13, they never stopped for bleeding. Stood us back up, and they started us on our feet. Guy Metzger hit me with the right hand, and it kind of scared me a little bit, so I went for a shot with my neck sticking out, and he grabbed a guillotine and caught me in a submission. I had to tap, but I was hooked. I was like, this sport is for me. I went back to college, got my A degree, went to D1, finished 1 year there, and I was like, you know what, this school stuff, I don't think it's cut out for me. And me and the coach didn't see eye to eye from there. God rest his soul. The coach there was Terry Kerr, and we actually had a conversation prior of his death, and he apologized to me to be an asshole, such a bad guy to me, just as a coach. He just was very disrespectful and just didn't really do what coaches should do. But I think he was just being hard-nosed because he was a former Marine, and that's just the way he coached guys. And all of a sudden, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this UFC thing out again. And I did. A year and a half later, I became the world champion. And it was luck.
Hard work. Yeah, I was about to say, luck, I look at that as like when, preparation meets opportunity, and you were definitely prepared once the opportunity presented itself. And like you said, you lost that fight to fight Frank Shamrock, but you kind of went back to the drawing board, went back to work. And then, like a lot of us, man, we really, we work our butt off, and sometimes it's almost like in a vacuum, and it just seems like it's not going anywhere. But you had that crucial moment of someone believing in you. So when you went back to work, you had your boss kind of tell you, hey, this job isn't for you, and you'd let him know, hey, I need this money. And what did he tell you?
Yeah, well, this is another story. I fought Frank Shamrock. He was a 5-time world champion after that fight, and he pulled me in the office, my boss, and he was like, "Tito, I really don't think this job is for you." I go, "What do you mean?" I mean, I'm here 8 hours to 12-hour shifts. I do people overtime for them. I fill in for people. I just need time to train at night, and that's all I need. I go, "I can do this." He goes, "No, I really think this job isn't for you." I go, "Listen, man, I need to pay my bills. I need to pay for my cell phone. I need to pay for my food." And I go, "Please let me have this job." He goes, "Calm down, Tito. Calm down." I go, "Check this out. I'm going to do something for you. I watched you fight Frank Shamrock, and you could beat a guy like that. You could become the world champion. I'm going to sponsor you. I'm going to pay for your apartment. I'm going to pay for your food. And I'm going to pay for your cell phone. And I want you to become world champion." And I promise you, I had the biggest smile on my face. I was like, wow, it was just the coolest thing in the world. I had one of my first big sponsorships, and a lot of people have listened. It actually was at an adult novelty store called Spanky's XXX out of Santa Ana, California. And those guys gave me a chance, they gave me an opportunity, and I ran with it. I trained my butt off, and I fought Vanderlei Silva for the vacant middleweight world title.
Well, not even just having, that kind of comfort level of knowing somebody's, all of those things you don't have to worry about as far as sponsorship. But what was that like, having somebody kind of augment what you already believed in your dreams, and believe in you and what you had going on? How important was that?
I just think it's a blessing, It's just, sending down blessings here and there. People who believe in me, people who have my back no matter what. And I'm very, very thankful for that. Ron Haskins is the guy's name. And he passed away just recently from cancer. But it's just one of those things that he was able to give to me, for me to give to others.
Some great memories, obviously, of him. You'll always have him in your heart, and that's something that just that one guy that believed in you and helped you out. And you're obviously going to go to your grave being thankful to that guy, right?
Yes, for sure. But there's just so many other people. My long career, I'm going on 22 years now.
Right.
And I'm still grinding, and I'm still putting in the time. I'm putting these 3 days a week, 3 times a day, 6 days a week. It's tough. It's grinding. But, at the beginning of this interview, we kind of talked about having the heart and the mentality to do the things we do. But it's really the brain. It's the brain process of being able to work and push yourself through that mentally, because it's so challenging to get through those grinding sessions. And Pat, as a really great, one of the best coaches ever, we grind through it. We get through it. And each day it gets harder and harder and harder. But all of a sudden it's Sunday and you go, wow, okay, and now we go one more week. And just making sure you do the right things. But at the same time is flip every rock behind you. Make sure all the rocks are turned before you step forward and step in that cage and fight. And that's what I do every one of my fights. And I have been doing this for such a long time. But it is a mentality process that it's lonely, it's hard, it's tough, but at the end, when my hands raised,
it's worth it.
Like it.
It's worth it. I think the process, that process, you know it well, of going into a training camp. You might not be in the greatest shape of your life, and it's that week or 2 or 3 weeks where it's even more difficult than normal. You're sore, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're getting your butt kicked by everybody in the camp, and you're supposed to be the guy, right? And it's as the weeks go by, you're putting on more and more pieces of armor. You're getting tougher and tougher. So it's a new piece of armor each time. By the time you get to fight night, you're completely armored up. You're ready to rock and roll.
Exactly. And it is tough, man. It is a process. And as I've gotten older, I've been able to taper off on a few things. I kind of took a page out of Randy Couture's book. He's always do stuff smarter, not harder. And I've understood that, but I still get to the point where I have to kind of take a couple of days off because I do push myself too hard sometimes. I still think I'm that 23-year-old world champion trying to still chase for that world championship. But now I couldn't realize it's about paying my bills, entertaining the fans, and giving what they love to see, and that's me competing against another man.
Right. And now you've had obviously a ton of injuries, and I can relate to your neck problems because I've had real severe neck injuries before and been paralyzed twice from the neck down a couple of times for 15 minutes at a time, whatever, and it's obviously a very scary feeling to lay there and not be able to move and realize I might be raising my kids from a wheelchair, which I did not dig at all. So I can relate to your neck injury stuff that you're dealing with. How many surgeries have you had to have on that?
I've had 4 neck surgeries. I've had T3, T2, T2, T1, C7 disc replacement. I've had a C6, C7 fused. I've had C6, C5 disc replacement. And I have C4, C5 fused.
Wow.
So
And you're the scary part is you're still competing. That's what's scary.
But see, Tito, you could have saved.
I have no pain. I have stiffness, but there's no pain. But let me tell you, I've never felt better. I mean, I feel better now than I did when I first started feeling the injuries. When I first had my first surgery,
okay,
it seemed like every time I had a surgery done, it just got worse and worse. The surgery would cure it completely, and then I'd get through a full camp. And then by the time the full camp was over, wrestling so much, then the disc above it will start getting dystrophy, and then I just got worse and worse. And I had to get those surgeries done. And now that they're done, I feel great. You know, when Chuck Liddell called me out last year, I thought, this will be a one-off. Let's see what this is. And I started training, and I was competing against guys who were 28, 27, 30 years old who are looking to become world champions. And I was competing against some great. They get the better of me someday. I get the better of them most of the days. But at the end of the day, I was still able to do the things the younger guys are doing. I mean, is it one of those things where, time is only a number? And I had to kind of check that because there was one other person that I've looked at for such a long time through my career has done the same thing at the same age I am right now, and that's Randy Couture. And I called him on the phone. I asked him for advice because, I really dig Randy, and I look up to the guy, and I asked him, I said, when you were 43, what made you keep fighting? What was it that you wanted to do? He goes, well, it was kind of hard to walk away. I go, yeah, I feel the same thing. He goes, but I was going through so much trauma prior mentally with the relationship and stuff that I couldn't focus on the fight. And I went through the same thing myself with my ex-girlfriend. I mean, I have full custody of my kids. I have my girlfriend Amber I've been with now we're going almost on 6 years now. Well, God, time fast. It goes by so fast. But I have a happy life. Everything's normal at home. I don't have a crazy, out-of-control life that living the rock star stuff. No, I'm a family man who works hard and not trying to provide for my children. But my body's healthy, training's great, and I feel strong. I'm on point. I mean, everything is good. I mean, I have my other businesses that I work, but I'm a fighter. At heart, I'm a fighter. I get lonely if I'm not training. I get lonely if I'm not getting ready for a fight to compete. It feels good just to get in great shape when you look at yourself and go, wow, I'm only 43 right now. This is crazy. I feel better now than I felt when I was 33.
Well, and listening to you talk in interviews in the past, like we just had on George Foreman a couple weeks ago, and the guy won the heavyweight boxing championship of the world at 45, fighting a very tough Michael Moore southpaw. So you're right, man, having that right mindset, and that's what I noticed about listening to you talk. Your mindset is very crucial to kind of your success. Like I know you just talk about kind of wanting peace in your life. You're a very humble guy, a very golden rule guy, just kind of treat people how you wanted to be treated. So I think your rather positive mindset has kind of helped you with your kind of physiology and being able to keep going the way you're doing. Because 8 surgeries, I mean, that's just crazy. And you're still competing.
Yeah. I know. 3 knee surgeries, lower back surgery, 4 neck surgery, and a reattachment right on my left eye. And about 20 concussions throughout my career of 22 years. It's kind of crazy, but at the same time, I've loved it. I wouldn't take anything back from it. But I've taken care of my body. I've always eaten the right things. I mean, I've never stopped training since I've been 15 years old. I mean, I'm 44. I just turned 44 last week.
Happy birthday, brother!
I've always trained. Thank you very much. I've always trained. I've always kept my nose on the grindstone and working forward, working hard as possible. And there has been those low valleys that I was in a relationship that I probably shouldn't have been in. I was probably going out trying to save my mom, and I didn't make it happen, but I ended up paying for it. But at the end of the day, I got 2 beautiful children at the end of the deal. My life's different now.
Live and learn, baby. Live and learn.
That's what it's about.
That's
I don't have UFC down my neck where Dana's yelling about me and saying this about me and that about me. I mean,
I can relate to that, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. You know how it is, man. And be on my level where he's just trying to destroy me. And I scratch my head. If any people that were my friends at all and said they cared about me, and if I cared about them, I'd go out of my way to try to help them any possible way impossible. When I fought Chuck Liddell, and all of a sudden the next thing that was on the internet was Dana yelling and screaming of how horrible they couldn't imagine they let that happen. But a month prior, they let me and Chuck Liddell face off at the UFC Hall of Fame to promote the fight.
I remember you said, yeah.
That's what I don't get.
Yeah, he's got that's the way he works. You know that, dude. I mean, when I was on a movie set in Mexico, the director John Hirschfeld calls me and goes, "Hey, somebody wants to talk to you on the phone." It's Dana White. Dana White says, "Hey, do you want to be the coach of The Ultimate Fighter?" And I said, "Well, you and I. Why are you calling me? We don't even get along anymore." And he goes, let's bury the hatchet. We'll talk more about it when you get back from Mexico, all this. And he goes, but will you be the coach of the show? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So I'm sitting there. We end up going to a golf club. It's on the Paul Walker film. Paul Walker, Lawrence Fishburne, the Carradine brothers, the director, the producer, a bunch of my fighters who were in the movie with me. We go to this golf club, a private club, and we're watching the fights. And Matt Hughes is fighting Joe Riggs. And Dana gets into the cage and goes, all right, I'm going to announce the coaches for this season of Tough. And I'm like, oh, what's he doing? He's going to announce I'm not even there. And so he goes, Frank Shamrock and Tito Ortiz. And I go, dude, what are you doing to me? Why? And I had no animosity towards you about that, but I was genuinely mad at Dana for throwing me under the bus like that. He goes, so when I got back, I called his office and I told his assistant, if your boss has any cojones, tell him to call me back. So he calls me back and he goes, what do you mean if I have any cojones? That wasn't the exact words he used, of course.
Yeah,
but I go, dude, what is wrong with you? Why would you even do that? But that's the way Dana works, right?
I mean, on certain, actually, yes, on many occasions it has. And like I say, he's a powerful man. He does his business right because that's the way he wants to do his business. And he doesn't think about anybody else besides himself. And it's too bad.
Collateral damage.
One day karma will come around. One day reality will. I mean, it all comes around. It always comes around. I don't wish any ill will on any person ever,
right.
But karma always comes around.
Well, you've said that karma has played a big role in your life, but going kind of back to some of your trials and tribulations, you couldn't necessarily completely escape some of the kind of pitfalls that come with, I guess, even prior to success, but some of the pitfalls your parents went through and involved kind of your neck. When you start having neck issues, that's when you started kind of dealing kind of the Vicodins and the painkillers, and that became an issue for you up to a point where I found it very impressive over New Year's cold turkey. Could you just kind of briefly discuss kind of the role, the kind of trials you were having with prescriptions at the time and how you kicked it?
Well, that actually was 2 years ago after I fought Chael Sonnen. I got out of one of his guillotines, got out of one of his set headlocks, and when I did that, I kind of popped my neck a little bit, and I ended up finishing the fight. I ended up choking him. And after the fight, I just was telling Jason, I was like, Perillo, my coach, I was like, dude, my neck really, really, really hurts. It's like, dude, you just got out of a headlock. What are you talking about? But no, but really, really, really hurts. So I went in and got, my doctor went and looked at it, and he said, was it T2, T1, C7, the disc are compressed. He goes, I think it'll maybe be a 2-level disc replacement. When I get in there, if it's 3, will you allow me to do 3? I go, doctor, you've done my last 4 surgeries. I trust you 100%, whatever it needs to do, you need to do. So we get it all set up. This is probably about 2 months after the fight. I mean Vicodins just to make the pain go away. 1 pill in the morning, one pill at night, one pill for lunch. And then I go to surgery, and they denied the claim. Okay, I was like, maybe scratch my head. I was like, okay, I did the injury inside of the Bellator cage. They should take care of this. It didn't happen. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Another 2 months go by. And once again, it went from 1 pill to now 2 pills in the morning, 2 pills at lunch, 2 pills at dinner. And then we go for it again in August. And all of a sudden, it doesn't happen again. Denied claim. And we had a conversation, me and Scott, some of the guys at, not Spike, but at Bellator. And I was like, I need to get the surgery done. And this is 8 months now. I've gone and I've been waiting for neck surgery in pain, and I've been eating pills. I've gone from 3 pills in the morning to 3 pills in the afternoon to 3 pills at night. And I got the surgery done. My surgeon was like, make sure you take your medication. I'm like, doc, I think a little bit needle more because I've been eating them now for the last 8 months. He said, okay, we'll just make it 4. So I did 4 in the morning, 4 at night, 4 in the afternoon, 4 at dinner. And that lasted all the way up to my last day of physical therapy for my neck. I was actually having 3 disc replacements for my neck. And it was the week of Chris Cyborg's fight on New Year's. I went to the fight. The fight was over with. She won. I went back to my hotel room, and I felt a little sickness. I was like, I feel like sick right now. And the sickness was I was going through detox of trying to take painkillers. My body was asking for more painkillers.
That's right. Yeah.
I was like, you know what? This is a new year. I looked at my girlfriend Amber, and I said, babe, I don't need any more painkillers. Take these. She took them, and I sat in a hotel room in Vegas for about 5 days, throwing up. just the worst cold sweats, everything, and came home, sat in bed for another 3-4 weeks, and kicked it. And it was the worst thing in the world I think I've ever gone through. It was so hard. I mean, that first 3 weeks was the hardest thing I think I've ever gone through. But it was in my mind. I was just like, I will not be my parents. I am not going to get addicted to a drug. I cannot let this happen. I got to be stronger than my will. And I was stronger than my will. And it was hard. It was tough, but it was an eye opener. You know,
cold turkey.
You realize a lot of people who do go through these depressions, who do go through these problems of being addicted to painkillers, it's not the right way to do things. You can't mask something, just put a Band-Aid on it. You know, you got to figure out the problem and fix it.
Yeah, and I mean,
with surgery, I got it done.
So you can relate firsthand to how 70,000 people are dying a year from this stuff.
It is crazy. I mean, these people are taken to a different level, though. You know, Vikings, I'm not saying that they're not as bad. They are bad, yes. But a lot of these guys, they're doing Oxycontin. That is just blowing my mind. That is legal heroin that the government is able to give to people and prescribe it to children.
What do you think about that? It seems like, when we've talked about it on the show, kind of the over-prescribing of, you know, a lot of these psychotropic drugs, you know, Ritalin to kids, but especially Oxy.
And professional athletes are, you know, and soldiers, everybody who's had severe injuries, people from car wrecks. It cuts across all sections of life. People are getting addicted to this stuff, and it's destroying them.
With no accountability. Exactly. But then the doctors have literally no accountability with some of these. You know,
not only, like you said, not only destroying their own life, but destroying their family's lives, everyone around them.
Yes, completely. But I mean, I just wish a lot of people would go out there and get help. Don't feel alone. You know, it is severe. It's across the world, I would imagine. And I just wish that people would really look into it and take care of themselves and find the right things to make their future better. Because living in a pilled world is not a place to live in, because it's dull, it sucks, it's lonely, it's you're masking something that's not a problem.
Right. Well, let's shift on to something a little more positive. Let's talk about your history, team punishment, and the. It was a fun rivalry to watch, because I was sitting back, I wasn't involved in it. My team didn't necessarily get along with the Lions Den, but you took it to all new levels with Ken Shamrock, and a lot of that. I mean, obviously you played it up a lot because you guys ended up being really the first big super fight in UFC history. I mean, you guys were the ones that really sold huge numbers of pay-per-views, but I mean, you guys generally didn't like each other at the time.
100%. There was nothing manufactured about that at all. That was just hatred. I didn't like him. He didn't like me, and we were going to fight. There was nothing, you know, pre-scripted or anything. That was true hatred for sure. But I think that's why it sold so well. That's why I think they liked it. I think they saw the hatred between both of us.
Yeah, it wasn't canned at all. I mean, and how did that get started? The dislike, what was it?
Well, I don't. Which one how far do you want to go back?
Was it because of what you did?
Or after I beat Guy Metzger
and wore the shirt, right?
And then wore the shirt after. I mean,
is that when Ken jumped on the cage, over the cage, like pointing at you, like you're being disrespectful or whatever?
Yeah, and he told me not disrespectful as Guy Metzger said. He's learned more. He's forgot more than I've ever learned. And I was just like, this guy, he's gonna take a beating, and I'll have the last laugh.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the original super fights, and that's, you know, kind of when I first kind of started getting on board. So what are your thoughts? You just mentioned Chris Cyborg, one of your many tentacles of the beast that you have stakes in the fire. One is at a management company, a sports management company where you manage fighters' talent. One of, I don't know if you still manage her, but former.
No, actually we don't. She wanted to go with
Okay.
I think she got signed with Audi, I believe. I'm not sure the management company. But just before this last fight, had someone get her mind and tell her something different. So,
what are your thoughts on that? Just like insane scorching of somebody so dominant as, you know, Chris Cyborg, like Amanda Nunes, just seriously shocked the world.
Chris came out way too aggressive. She came out with no respect. She gave Amanda no respect at all, and you don't do that to a champion. It was hard to see. It was hard to watch. Just because I love Chris. She's like a sister to me. I mean, I've helped her so much over the last 8 years, but to see that. It was just, it was a hard one to watch. That was for sure.
Yeah, it was. I mean, pretty history making. I didn't exactly know how it was going to go because I mean, I've seen obviously Amanda strike with Ronda and stuff, but Chris, I just thought, I don't know, I thought that was just going to go the other way, but it was interesting to watch those two just trade off. I'm like, somebody's going to sleep.
I was surprised Chris didn't just go out and take her down. And, it was that thing where, Amanda is a sharpshooter. She's a great striker. She's very refined. And I've called one of Chris's fights in Muay Thai where she did lose the fight to a girl who is probably the best Muay Thai fighter, female Muay Thai fighter in the world. I think she's like 60-0 now. But Chris, put up a great fight. But I thought when I saw them starting to throw with each other, I'm like, Chris is getting into a gunfight with a true gunslinger here, man. This is
when Chris she was throwing hooks. Nothing was straight punches. Everything was hooks, and she was throwing with her hands down. It was wrong. It was just I think a lot of people were feeding her that she was going to walk through Amanda. I really believe that.
And Amanda's not a small girl. Amanda's a big girl.
No. And yeah, she was. I mean, even with the weigh-in, you've seen her, and the fight in general, you've seen her. She was a big girl. She was able to put that extra 10 pounds on.
Yeah.
But the technique always surpassed.
It comes out.
Use technique the right way, it'll beat any strength, head to head every time.
Right.
Wow. Well, we just talked recently. I mean, obviously, it was big news. You and Chuck going for the trilogy. I would love to say I was shocked by how that turned out, but I'm just like, you've been fighting, you've been active, you've been looking good, you've been keeping yourself in shape, and Chuck his last several fights in the UFC just did not turn out well. How did this? I don't even know how did this start? I mean, I know you guys kind of wanted to get it going with Oscar and stuff, but were you at all concerned? I mean, I know you were concerned with Chuck because that was part of why you wanted to put this together from a financial standpoint, but were you at all all concerned about Chuck's physical condition going into that fight, considering his record of so many KOs in the last few years?
Well, that they say that if you let your brain heal a little bit, you'll not have many problems as you did prior, up to a year to 2 years. And I know that from concussions in general. But Chuck's problem was he liked to party. He didn't. I mean, when it came for training, he did his training camps for 8 weeks, and then he would take 2 months off. Or he would get knocked out, and he would take 6 months off. And it's a totally different species. Chuck was a fighter. I'm an athlete. That's the difference. I'm a professional athlete. I do this for a living. This is something that I'm not going to do like, okay, I want to fight because it's fun. No, I want to compete because I'm a competitor. And I think that's a big difference. When Chuck accepted this fight, or when he called me out and I accepted this fight, I look him straight in the eyes. I go, I hope you know what you're doing. I go, this ain't going to be a close fight, dude. I go, I'm a different person than when we fought the last time. And he laughed. He goes, yeah, sure, buddy. We'll see. I go, okay, we will see. I did my work for 18 weeks. I put everything in my life for the fight, and it only lasted 4.5 minutes.
And I knew it was going to be a knockout. I don't know why. I mean, I just knew Chuck wasn't almost like what we saw with Fedor.
I was looking at Chuck. You had to notice, Tito, when he at the weigh-ins when he walked up to the scale. I mean, he walks so bull-legged now and kind of cumbersome and clumsy. And when he was in there with it, I mean, you were obviously still moving great, moving like you're still very young, but he's just not moving like that anymore. And he was not
slow.
even being. He couldn't even track you. And I thought, man, that's just a matter of time. He's going down. This is going to get ugly.
Yeah, when I threw, he actually threw a couple jabs at me, a couple right hands, and I bobbed and weaved him. And I laughed and I looked at him, I smiled, and he already had like marks on his face because I touched him a few times. And I looked at him and I'm going to knock you out right now. You know that, right? And this is like, I don't normally talk.
Yeah, well,
one of those things.
I could see it coming, dude.
It was just like a bully that you finally stood up to, because the whole time they had a company and himself against you your whole life, and that's how it was.
Right.
Every highlight, everything that's ever been to the UFC with me and Chuck, it's always been about Chuck. And you know what? There you go. Humble pie served cold sometimes comes, and he got it.
He most certainly did. And it was kind of interesting, like you said, before it was all, Dana and Chuck against you. And then kind of once they were done with Chuck and even fired him from his executive position, it was just like, just kind of sending him out to pasture. But, it was entertaining. I don't necessarily mind kind of the, veterans going at it. I just, in Chuck's place, in Chuck's situation, it just wasn't a good look because he just hadn't performed well at all. Like, I like watching you fight. You still, like you said, you still have the grind. You could still move and you still have the passion. Even Vitor, when he's not all gopped up on the gop, like it's these guys, they still have it. But like a Chuck, it was just probably, like you said, a combination of him not training like he should and partying, etc. But he just, I was just sad to see that, dude, just because I knew that was going to happen. And,
Tito wasn't sad to see it.
No, hell no, he wasn't.
I smiled. When I saw him walk in the cage, I smiled because I was like, hey, here's my chance. And there was an opportunity I was kind of chasing him a little bit. I thought in my mind, don't chase this guy. That's a mistake that he's waiting for you to do to hit you with the right hand. And one of the right hands, it just swooshed past my face, probably about 4 inches. And I was like, okay, I got to watch myself now. Now I got to watch myself. And I did, and cut the angles and use my footwork. And feints helped out a lot. When I did hit him with jabs, I hit him with fast jabs, and I didn't put power on any of my punches. And with the punch that I dropped him with the straight right, I didn't even throw it that hard. I hit him perfectly right on the chin, and he dropped, and it was just like, blood, kill this guy. That's me. So it's in my mind. And I'm a competitor, as I say. I'm a fighter. He's trying to do the same thing to me. He wouldn't think twice about it.
Well, and like you said, you're not the same fighter, and you could tell. You've been competing in Bellator, et cetera, and he's, for lack of a better term, he's kind of remained that same style, just kind of loading up with that right hand. His style has not adapted at all. That's why I was just like, I don't know, a few months ago, he's talking about fighting John Jones. I'm like, are you high? Like, What are you talking about, dude?
I mean, Pat is one of the perfect coaches to understand. You got to evolve with the game.
Right.
And I've understood that. And I learned this a long time ago after I lost to Frank Shamrock. I went and trained with him for 2 months, and I learned how to use the heart rate monitor. My groundwork for my wrestling, I knew I really well, but I had to mix in the Muay Thai and then the kickboxing and just the boxing, and then doing all these different things just to get ready for a fight. And you watch the guys now; it is a new generation of fighters. But I'm still competing. I'm still at that same level. I'm still doing those same things. And if people think 44 is old, it really, really isn't.
And there is obviously there's a smarter way to train, but when we come down to it, I mean, you'll admit, I'm sure, Tito, that the oldest ways to train many times are obviously the best ways to train, with some modifications, of course, and that's really what it comes down to, because the basics, the guy with the best basics is generally always going to win.
Right.
The best fundamentals.
And a lot of things that we did that I think that kind of not tarnished my body, or just maybe hurt my body a little more than it should, was having a new guy every minute. And we would do that for 5-minute rounds, a new guy every minute. And I think that was taxing on the body. I think if I would have did smarter, as I do now, we do, one guy per round, not per minute. We were doing per minute. I think that was just too much.
That's that armor you're putting on, though, right? I mean, that's by the time you get to
to a certain extent, it is.
Yeah, by the time you get to the fight, man, you've been going with the fresh guy every minute, and that's you just climb in there and go, I know I'm going to win. At that point, you just mentally know that you've trained way more than the other guy has. You're more prepared, and that's the mental edge that you absolutely need.
100%.
Well, and you see now a lot of training, a lot of sparring has been kind of limited a little bit with kind of the onset of everyone understanding of CTE and brain trauma and concussion. You see a lot of camps phasing out as much sparring. Is that something you guys are conscious of at all?
100%. I mean, now when I spar, for this camp we sparred twice a week, but we used to spar 3 times a week. I would like to get it down just to 1 time a week. I mean, as Pat talks about building your armor, I think after 22 years, my armor's still built.
Right.
But
you've got the knowledge. You've got the knowledge. Now it comes down to timing and being in shape, right?
Yes, exactly. So doing, like I said, a lot of mitt work, a lot of bag work, a lot of repetitions where it's just over and over and over. Just like school. That's how you get straight A's, right? We got to do that work.
Right. And, you talk about adapting and growing with the sport, technically, with knowledge, with, cardiovascular training and everything else. Let's talk post-career. Obviously, it's not the end of your career, but, I know that you've thought ahead. What is it you plan on doing with the rest of your life post-fighting?
Well, I think I've already started a few of them. I have my clothing company, Punishment Athletics, if that's okay. My management company, Primetime 360, which we have about 23, 24 fighters that are decent up-and-coming fighters that will be great someday, hopefully, if they do the right things and make the right decisions and take the right advice. And, of course, Tito Ortiz Group, which is my wholesale card business that I run. And it's doing really, really well. We've been in business now for a year, and our numbers have been amazing. I think we got rid of almost 3,000 cars last year. So
nice.
It's nice. I just got green-lighted on a show that I want to do called Sea Monsters with Tito Ortiz.
So what's that about?
So going around the world trying to catch the largest saltwater fish in the world, trying to set world records. And like I said, go to Gloucester, go look for big bluefin tuna, take them to the market in Japan, and try to figure out how that process goes through.
Dude, that's right up my alley. That'll be a blast.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Well, it sounds like. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Going to the Great Barrier Reef, catching black marlin, some of the biggest marlin in the world. Going down to Florida to go catch some Goliath grouper, just to catch release, but trying to find the biggest, largest ones possible, and show how people how fish are caught in these different areas. Educate the people. I think this is something that'd be perfect for Discovery Channel. So,
yeah.
It's something I would love to do. I'm a big fisherman. As I say, since I've been a kid. So it's something I would love to do.
I've always wanted to fish off the oil rigs for the giant groupers, dude. What a blast!
Yeah, I know. Me too. I'm going to do it. One of my buddies, Joshua from Blacktip H, he actually has a place down in Florida. He fishes all the time. He's like, Tito, whenever you're ready to come down and catch his big grouper, I got you.
Well, I know part of your business acumen kind of got increased when you met Donald Trump, and you, like you said, everyone else went out and partied, but you picked his brain on, how do you become a billionaire? How do you become a millionaire? How do you, run these businesses? And he had said something to the effect of, you need to have at least, 5 businesses running. And when, you're asleep, somebody else needs to be working for you. And it sounds like you're kind of on your way to, your acting, the fighting, et cetera. If you can, speak to, are you going to be partnering up with Oscar again in as far as Golden Boy Promotions, not just as a fighter, but as like an executive or somebody in the offices?
Not for sure yet. I've met with them today. It just feels like they don't have a stronghold on what it truly is about. I think they do have it in boxing, but with MMA, I think they have a little bit more work to do. So right now, I'm just going to sit back. Of course, Scott Cookers came to me because he knows I have interest in fighting again. Another business came to me because they know I have interest in fighting again. So if the money's right and if fans want to watch me entertain, I'll do my job. Well,
somebody who I find is quite entertaining, and he kind of, for me, started this kind of McGregor effect, if you will, kind of talking themselves. Chael Sonnen is somebody you have a deep history with, loses to Anderson Silva, and then talks his way into a light heavyweight championship with John Jones. You fought him not too long ago. You beat him, but Chael is just absolutely hilarious because he has this weird compartmentalization of he beat you already. He's like, Tito's the worst. He's just, if I lose to Tito, I'm just like, you lost already, bro. And so now
he can change people's minds on history,
which is just
That's
so
what
weird.
He does.
Yeah, seriously.
It's absolutely. He acts like it never occurred, which is just so funny. And so now, I peep him out on his little channel. But are you guys supposed to be fighting again in Bellator?
I don't know. He's been really hush hush.
Hello.
I think he really doesn't want to. We'll see.
We lost you for a sec.
You were jumping in your vehicle, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just jumped in my vehicle. There we go.
We only need.
Like I said, I've gone back and forth on Twitter with him. I think it was right after New Year. He said, "So are we going to do this or what?" on Twitter, and I said, "Of course. Why wouldn't I want to do it?" And then he never said anything else. It was just he's been really hush hush hush. I went to Bellator this last weekend to go watch Fedor and Bader. I thought it was a super fast fight. I thought Fedor had a better chin than that. He must have did a lot of sparring for this camp and must have got caught a few times. To get knocked out with a jab is just. Yeah,
I think Fedor's he's gotten the button pushed several times here in the toward the end of his career, and Dan Henderson wrecked him, and then Bigfoot wrecked him, and a couple other guys have. And I think once that button gets pushed like that repetitiously, I think there's probably no returning from it. It's just going to happen over and over. So it's unfortunate because I consider Fedor Emelianenko, if not the top, at least top 3 in all of history, because he went 10 years wrecking the best heavyweights in the world and never lost for an entire decade. I mean, that's how tough that would have been to go that long.
Heavyweights the world. Come on, Pat.
Oh, come on, man.
What's the best ones in Japan? I get it.
I would say at that time, Pride had some pretty scary dudes, right?
Yeah, they did. They did have a few pretty scary guys, but all those guys came to UFC and they didn't do well.
Well, and the thing is that's interesting is, obviously over in Japan they weren't testing, number one.
Yes.
So you're going to have freaks of nature, and then like a guy like Crow Cop, he was going through the investigation during the war crimes the Hague and all that sort of stuff when there was the retaliation from the Serbs' ethnic cleansing of Croatia, and then Krokop took his anti-terrorist team and sought out the leaders of the Serbian military and offed those guys to pay the Serbians back for the ethnic cleansing. So he was under investigation when he came to the UFC. So obviously he was mentally totally focused on, my God, I might hang in the Hague,
right,
for war crimes. So stuff like that was happening to him. But there was a lot of scary guys who, they got destroyed in Pride when those guys all came over to the UFC after the UFC bought them. They were already used up, right?
Pretty much they were, But like you say, that they're use supplements that UFC guys were never allowed to use, and if they did, you get penalized for it. And it was just one of those things that I seen those guys. It was an easy way out for them. The hard train didn't have to be so hard because they were able to put muscle and size on an easier way. And I think the easiest way is working hard. And I've learned that through my whole life. I watch guys like Mark Coleman, who I looked up to as a young kid, and I was like, how did he just lose to Petey Williams? Petey Williams kicked him in the face, and I watched the fight over and over again. I go, God, he got gassed out so dang quick, but he looks like he's in the most amazing shape in the world.
Right.
I kind of realized that stuff is all superficial.
And at the same time, Coleman's striking was about as good as my 5-year-old's.
Well, that brings up what was his name? Mark Kerr, Mark the Smashing Machine Kerr. Just got to the gills. Like literally, that documentary is just heartbreaking. He's just shooting up stuff like on camera, and yeah,
it's. Like I say, man, fighting is the loneliest sport in the world because it's just you. You don't have a quarterback. You don't got a lineman. You don't have wide receivers. You just got yourself.
And there's a massive amount of abuse. There are no timeouts, right?
There is no timeouts. And there's, like I said, it's hard to get up and train every day. To get up and go train, and then you still got a job too to do. That's a little different. But being able just to train 3 times a day, doing it 6 days a week, it's hard. It's excruciating time away from your family. It is really, really difficult.
Yeah, not to put down other sports, but when we're watching, professional basketball players and professional soccer players sell fouls like they got their legs snapped in half and falling down and screaming and crying, and guys in mixed martial arts are getting kicked in the teeth and spitting their teeth out and smiling and throwing punches back at the other guy. It's a mentality.
Sports and tell them they don't work as hard as us because they don't. There's no one in the world that works as hard as us. Maybe a college wrestler or Olympic wrestler. Those are the guys who probably work as hard besides to get punched in the face.
Right.
Getting punched in the face changes everything.
And we had on Dan Gable, and he pretty much can attest to that. And I was just like, the crucible you guys go through to get ready for your 3 rounds, 5 rounds, it's absolutely insane. Well, man, I appreciate your time. I would be absolutely remiss if I was not sitting here across from Pat Miletich, UFC Hall of Famer, and Tito Ortiz, former light heavyweight champion and Hall of Famer, on the phone, and not ask you about the incident. Where was it at? The alley with Lee Murray.
Here we go. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you're going there.
Well, I in show prep, and I found it interesting because I wound up actually getting quite fascinated by freaking Lee Murray. This guy's doing 25 years.
Since, dude.
Well, of course, much water under the bridge.
Deal.
I'm not trying to start any stuff. I'm just curious.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad at Tito at all. I'm not. Hell no.
Sounded like
I'm mad at Dana about that stuff.
Well, hearing the whole story, like all you guys, of course, you guys were. I'll just say we were hammered. We were hammered in the alley, and so I'm just wondering these bobbies rolling up on this scene. Either one of you guys, tell the story. What the heck happened?
Go ahead, Tito.
It was after UFC, and a few of our buddies, one of my close friends, Bo, who Pat knew, kind of. They weren't best friends, but
we were all friends. Yeah, no,
we're all close friends.
Bo jumped on my back basically, and Tony Fricklin thought that he was trying to choke me. Tony ripped him off my back, yelled at him, "Don't try and choke my coach." Bo goes, "Dude, what are you talking about?" And then Paul from England thought that Bo was trying to fight with me and with Tony. So Paul sticking up for us because I had looked out for Lee before, obviously trained Lee. Bo gets punched by that big Paul guy. Bo goes down. I think did a cab run over his arm?
Well, he got punched and he got stomped a few times. And then the cab ran over his arm, and then that's when I came in.
And then you and Lee Murray were going at it. And then I told Lee to get the hell out of there because he was kicking you in the head. He was kicking you with steel-toed boots in the head. And I stopped it because you and I were good friends at the time. And I stopped it, and I said, "Lee, get the hell out of here." And he goes, "All right." And he took off running. Then all the bobbies showed up. They got their fire extinguisher-sized pepper spray canisters. And I go, "Don't spray anyone in this alley. You have no idea. I said, you're law enforcement, but you're not American law enforcement. You don't have guns, and this whole alley is full of all UFC fighters and coaches. You're going to get wrecked if you do that. And he goes, all right, just help me get everybody out of here. And then we all started jumping in cabs and getting out of there. That's basically the way I remembered it.
All besides, I never remember getting kicked in the head. I remember Lee Murray taking off running and me chasing after him, and him stopping posting and turning around. And when he stopped to post, I went to go post, and I kept sliding into him, and he hit me with a punch and dropped me to my knee. And I remember people pulling us apart. I tried to clinch him. Pulling us apart, and that's when the cop stepped in. The guy went to stream in the face with mace. And I go ahead and do that. It'll be the last thing you'll ever want to do. And
I just remember Chuck Liddell knocking like 5 or 6 people out in a row.
Yeah, and Chuck was with me, and Chuck was knocking the other guys. This is when me and Chuck weren't friends, though, remember?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I thought you guys weren't friends, but yeah, exactly. Wow, stories of your youth. I'm sure you guys could just have an hour, 2-hour show just on stories.
I'm just glad we all lived through this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's behind us, and back then we were just young kids who were having fun. And I would look back on it and laugh about it.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful thing, man. Look, I can't even begin to thank you, bro. Like, when I first started getting into the MMA, I was a huge professional wrestling fan. I know you are too, but when I kind of grew out of that, and then UFC and MMA was right there.
You never grew out of pro wrestling.
You're right. I can't lie. But, I mean, that Young Guns and Lions Den rivalry was absolutely huge. You and Frank, or you and Ken. I mean, just so many memories, man. I cannot thank you enough. 8 surgeries, all the work you've put in, bro. I know it hasn't been easy, but I can't thank you enough, man, for all the work you put in, and keep killing it, dude. You really are. You have a very inspirational story, man. And a lot of people can look up to this.
Thank you. And I try to make it as positive as possible. And I got my kids to look over me. They look out for what Dad's doing. They want to be like Dad. And see the hard work that Dad does.
Well, and I love hearing that too, man. How your kids have grounded you, and how you've really put your kids first. His kids don't have an iPhone. His kids don't have an Xbox and stuff.
That's awesome, man.
He's got the reins on that, which is really, really cool, because that stuff is crazy.
That's smart.
In our house, grades are number one. Reading, they read an hour every day. Their minds are growing so fast right now at such a young age. I believe the human body's brain doesn't stop growing until the age of 22 years old. So they're going to have a time to learn so much. It's such a short amount of time. I'm going to make sure I do the right thing as parenting, because parenting is so hard, and do it the right way.
I think what you're doing with no video games and things like that, I mean, we've never allowed video games for our kids. They're voracious readers. They're straight-A students, all that stuff. I think it pays off, and I think a lot of parents need to pay attention to that and not give in. Don't be your kid's friend. Be your kid's parent and say no, and know what's best for them, and it'll pay off, right?
100%. It'll pay off. They say the best resemblance of yourself is your child. So, that's what I try to do. And my kids see that. They see the hard work that Dad puts in. And I love it to see the smile on their faces when they know. They're like, I come home from a hard day of training, they come and lay on me like, you all right, Dad? Yeah, very good. We missed you. Well, it's just a great feeling.
And the beautiful thing is you provided a life for them that was that is completely the antithesis of where you grew up. And I know, that's something I'm sure
that's the whole idea.
Absolutely.
Make them better than we were.
Absolutely.
Yes, make them better. My parents only knew as good as they knew, and that was I was offered. I know better now, and I'm teaching myself. I've learned through myself. I've learned through the mistakes I've had. I've never made a mistake twice, but I want to make sure I show my kids the right way to do things, and I want them to make mistakes. I want them to learn from the process of life, and I think that's really important.
Good stuff, Tito.
Without a doubt, man. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been MMA veteran, former light heavyweight champion, Tito Ortiz. Thank you so very much.
Good talking to you, Tito, buddy.
Continued success, brother. Continued success.
Thank you guys so much. And all listeners, you guys go on Instagram at Tito Ortiz 1999. Check out my site. Follow me, please. To see my life, how it's going through. I'm really open, so come check it out.
All right, bro.
Got it, buddy. Thank you.
See you, bud.
Thank you, guys.